This week's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. Have you ever been to a dentist who wants to chat with you while they're cleaning your teeth? Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to settle anymore when it comes to finding the right doctor. With ZocDoc, you've got options. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. I've said this a million times. I love using ZocDoc. I just booked a sleep specialist through ZocDoc because I realized I can't really breathe when I sleep because I broke my nose a while back. And it turns out you need oxygen, for proper cognitive function, whatever that means. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Schauer, SCHAUER, to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Schauer, SCHAUER, ZocDoc.com/Schauer. Well, hey guys, welcome back to the pod. This is Schauer Thoughts, a podcast for left and right brainers, which means if you're more emotional or more logical, then this is for you. Some people did say, what about middle brainers? I guess technically that'd be your brainstem, which includes the thalamus, hypothalamus, and basal ganglia. So that's a lot of eye movement and coordination. So I guess this is for you as well. Well, actually, it's a podcast. There is a visual element if you go on my YouTube and you subscribe to it. So I guess if I'm kind of disregarding middle brainers who are more visual, then that's not even true in and of itself because there's a platform for y'all. So left, right, middle brainers, this is all for you. The entirety of the brain. If you can understand what I'm saying, then this is for you. I just wanted to, And Schauer Thoughts, Thinking is Communal, the book that I mentioned last week when I talked about that is called The Knowledge Illusion by Sloman. I did bring some books today because I wanted to talk about decentering and actually give some resources. And I have two books here that actually mention the term decentering, thus far, when it comes to the centering, decentering conversation in literature and academia, mainly it's in regards to intersectional feminism or equality and equity and, rights. The term centering is is a fairly new term. So it's fairly new books that are using the term centering and decentering. But this is a part two to the decentering conversation that I started last week. Also, I have reviewed the past two episodes of me speaking, and I do seem a bit nervous. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's because I don't want to lie to you guys, even intentionally or unintentionally. You put some information out there, and, maybe you misinterpreted it because you didn't finish college because you had a complete and utter mental breakdown the last semester of your senior year. And now misinformation is out there and people are spreading it. And now you're it's the butterfly effect, But yeah, before we get into that, we are going to do some warm-ups. I did say last time, usually it's in the first 10 minutes. We kind of just, de-stress from the week or we think about what we've done. I know some of you are getting in the shower, starting your drive to work, and you want to unwind, or maybe you just want to mentally prepare for what's ahead. I'm not sure I have too much good news. Maybe it's funny. This will help you unwind. So I went to, in the morning, I do smoke a cigarette. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I do. And a couple mornings ago, I went outside to smoke a cigarette, and I nearly stepped on a very large pile of human poop. And I know it was human because that was human poop. The structure, it just is everything human, And it was kind of under a bush on the sidewalk, leaning to our parking garage, but it's also around a blind corner. And so while I'm smoking, I'm just someone's going to step on that. I know someone's going to step on that. I know. The thing is you're not going to see it, and you're going to slide and slip, and then it's just going to ruin your day, So what do I do as the nice residential smoker is I got gloves on, and I double bagged my hand, and I picked up the human poop, huge, massive, right? And then I throw it away, and then I get a full bottle of water, and I clean off the sidewalk. And so, everyone says that they want a village, and I am the village for my apartment complex, and no one knows it. I saved probably 16 pairs of shoes this past week, and being a hero, it's a thankless job. But I do that. I love people not stepping in crap around my building. But the thing is I'm sorry. This is us, it's for the good of humanity. No one wants to step in poop. But I mean, my apartment complex, I feel like, doesn't appreciate me. Like I said, I do smoke, but I always smoke like next to the dumpsters because the dumpsters already smell. I'm not an inconsiderate smoker. I actually hesitate to even say this because I know people love to rip me apart for this. Whatever. We're going to be talking about centering and decentering, which is inherently an addiction conversation. And I personally believe how you feel about cigarette smokers is very indicative of how you feel about the addiction community, but I'll get to that. Okay, so I smoke considerately by the dumpsters, and while I'm out there, I like to break down boxes of that people, because they don't want to shove it in the dumpster, they just kind of pile it on top. And so I'm already outside, like, why not? So I break down the boxes, and then one day I get like a letter in the mail. No, it was on my door, no smoking on the perimeters, the dumpster is on the perimeters, so please go out to the back alley. And there was a complaint was filed by one of my neighbors who I have broken down his boxes before, right? While I was smoking, I have broken down his boxes before because I was considerate and I thought that this is just the neighborly thing. Turns out he was just, trying to get me in trouble. And so what I started doing is I started writing down the names of every person who left a box outside the dumpster. And I started a weekly, reporting them because how dare you? I was helping you. So anyway, I do like helping this is another thing. Someone's dog from the upstairs threw up in front of my door, but it was like clearly leading up the stairs. And I got a notice on my door about like, hey, don't let your dog like throw up, or if you're gonna let your dog throw up, please clean it up. And I wrote back, I have 2 cats. I do not have 1 dog. One of my cats is massive, but there's no way that he could have made that throw up. And so I was like, everyone keeps pinning things on me, but I am just trying to help and live here. But whatever. Anyway, we're trying to unwind. What are some good things that have happened? This is not good. My ex did move out, which I guess, we have time to grow as individuals, which is nice. And we are still friends. I made them some cupcakes and they came over to do Legos with me. And everyone, when I posted about it on TikTok, was like, you're friends with your ex? That people were like, lesbians have it so easy. And I was like, first off, this is not easy. I'm 30 and Naomi is 27. We're not the first people that we've dated, We've had the full range of breakup types. So this is a result of very hard work on both of our parts, to be friends, to be amicable and not toxic. God. And then just, I don't know. We're friends. Sue me for trying to, people think that I'm like happy-go-lucky. Being happy for me is a huge, huge amount of effort and time. Well, why would you expend that amount of effort? Because it's worth it, dude. Yes, I want to clean up my neighborhood. I want to clean the crap off the sidewalks. I want to be friends with a person I dated for years it's all hard. It smells and you get pushback from people who see your good intentions as something to be punished, and then you're friends with your ex and it's painful, sure, but it's more healthy. None of this stuff is easy. And yeah, I'm trying to be happy about it, but it's like, God. Ugh. Every time someone sees you happy or like you trying to do something good for yourself, they're like, wow, you must have really had life handed to you. Dude, I'm okay. Speaking of, this is Rebecca.
Yeah.
Invited me because I was looking for gay people to hang out with. Rebecca plays kickball, right? And so Rebecca invites me to a kickball outing, and I go. And while I'm there, we're chatting, and this person walks up to the table that we're at. And I have definitely, wink, wink, met this person before, multiple times. And Rebecca is introducing me to them, and I have never been more abundantly clear with my eyes and what I'm mouthing. I know them. I know them. And Rebecca is like, well, this is them. And, here we go. And then the person and I are clearly having a stare off. And Rebecca just, has had a few drinks. It's just like, well, what? Have you guys met before? Do you remember this?
Yes, I remember this.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, you had really wide eyes. And I was like, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
And you were like, used to hook up with that person.
Yeah.
And I was like, them? And you were like, I used to hook up with that person. My brain was just like, I brought you into my kickball world. And I was like, there's no way there's going to be any overlap. But that's silly of me because being gay in LA, there's tons of overlap. Being a lesbian in LA,
Yeah.
so much overlap.
I like lesbians, like it's just, I couldn't believe, it was just, I never want to be held hostage and like only given access to one phone number and it's yours. Cause I'm like, Rebecca, I know them, please. And you're like, well.
I was like, oh, wait, you've met them before?
Yeah.
I need stuff spelled out, you know?
Yeah, but I couldn't because we were holding some pretty intense eye contact, just because it had been a while since I'd seen them, and it was just. But thank you for inviting me. It was fun. I mean the thing is I don't have any beef with them. I guess it was just when you're not expecting to see someone and you're like, hey. So
Yeah.
thank you. But I mean,
Yeah.
I'd love to come to more dodgeball stuff with you.
Oh, it's actually kickball, so.
What's
Well, uninvited.
I'm
Can't
s-
respect the game.
I'm sorry. I was watching Dodgeball last night, the movie. Have you seen it?
I've actually never seen it.
It's a really good movie. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I had a pretty good week. I'm trying to think of something that we can all continue to unwind with. Well, actually, since you're not me, this could probably help you relax. Sarah Schauer picked up some human poop and then made some pretty intense eye contact with someone they hooked up years ago at a lesbian event. First time out in a while. You know, you could just imagine the hee-hees and the ha-has. It's all going to be funny in hindsight, but this is, again, we're going to talk about decentering men and continuing that. I left off at page 4 of 14, and just to run down, a lot of people are like, what is centering and decentering? It's just where you assume that, you know, society teaches you, like through patriarchy, through capitalism, through white supremacy, through colonization, through individualistic cultures, you know, that you're supposed to be attracted to a dude, and the dude in this case has a penis, and you're a woman with a vagina, and you guys get married, and then he penetrates you, and it's only ever about his pleasure. You live to serve him and make him children, and, you know, you rely on him, you clean up after him, you wash his ass because he won't do it. And then, you know, when you get sick, he abandons you in the hospital so he can find a young new wife. And, you know, you just kind of, and the thing is I say that and it sounds really bleak because it is. But again, this is not the thing that I'm believe in. It's just like what patriarchy has taught us, like similar to capitalism. What it has taught us is that when you center a capitalism, you assume that your worth is tied to your output, your productivity, you know? Again, centering and decentering is an addiction and recovery conversation. And I really hate this term, but I guess I'm going to humor it. Workaholics, right? You assume that if you're not being productive or you're not cleaning or you're laying down, you're watching TV, that you're a lazy, useless piece of crap. The thing is you have centered what capitalism has taught you. If you decenter capitalism, that means you uncouple your worth from your output. Okay, and then what white supremacy has taught you to center is that whiteness or light skin is the most appealing, the most attractive, right? We can talk about like the halo effect and pretty privilege, Eurocentric features, and then that can also get into fat phobia and like the obsession with thinness, where it's like, you know, to be thin is valid, and if you're plus size, you're completely wrong and unhealthy. And the thing is like, I can't get into it, but okay. Actually, I am getting into it. I don't know why I keep saying
Get
that.
into it.
Yes. And so then individualistic culture, right? We're taught that we're so unique and special and that we don't need anyone else. Au contraire, I mean, according to cognitive like psychology, literally thinking and thoughts are shared. Like a lot of people think they're smarter than they actually are, even when they hang out with experts or they have access to the internet, because they assume, oh, if I have access to information, thus it is in my brain. No, it's not actually within your brain. It's contained with an external source or external individual. And so you're kind of assuming that you're sharing knowledge with them, you know? Like a lot of people think they know more than they actually do. Like, if I were to ask you, how does a toilet work? Most of you could give me the general mechanisms. You poop in the hole, right? and then you flush it, water fills up, and then kind of flushes out the poop, right? And then if I were to push you further, and I was like, okay, so you say you know how a toilet really works. Where's the siphon on a toilet? Some of you could be like, oh, I actually do know where that is. But most of you would be like, oh, crap, I don't, you know? So the illusion of explanatory depth. A lot of us think that we know more than we actually do, and it contributes to like such an individualistic culture. I mean, it's the illusion of explanatory depth. It affects everyone. This week's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. Have you ever been to a dentist who wants to chat with you while they're cleaning your teeth, or a therapist who only has openings in the middle of your workday, or a dermatologist who brings up your cosmetic issues before you do? Like the time I went to go get my legs lasered and she said upper lip, and I said, you have my chart, you know why I'm here. Well, I'm here to tell you that you don't have to settle anymore when it comes to finding the right doctor. With ZocDoc, you've got options. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. I've said this a million times. I love using ZocDoc. I just booked a sleep specialist through ZocDoc because I realized I can't really breathe when I sleep because I broke my nose a while back. And it turns out you need like oxygen, you know, for like proper cognitive function, whatever that means. But I'll let you know how it goes. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Schauer, SCHAUER, to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Schauer, SCHAUER, ZocDoc.com/Schauer. But like, we truly are like part of a larger whole. And so when it comes to centering or decentering, that includes, you know, customs, beliefs, attitudes, beliefs, right? Like if you believe that you're an individual and what you're worthless or you're worth more than others, that means that you place yourself above the general population or below the general population. However, you are a human being who exists. When you center yourself, you position yourself with the people, right? You are an individual, simultaneously part of a whole. You are not less than the people. You are not above the people. You are a part of this planet. And that's, individualistic culture when it comes to emotions, right? Individualistic emotions. And that means that you assume that emotions are your own, whereas collectivist emotions, you assume that you share emotions. And I subscribe to collectivist emotions. I mean, I don't full on subscribe to them, as it takes a lifetime of learning. It'd be like saying I love German. Just because I know the mechanics of German doesn't mean that I can speak it. So, I prefer collectivist emotions. So yeah, if you can share knowledge with others and it's verified by psychologists, therapists, neuroscientists, I know the study of emotions is a lot harder as we get into the realm of intuition and spirituality and connectedness and God. It just, society has feminized emotions and intuition. Anything spiritual is a pseudoscience. I mean, but we assume that we share emotions. So yeah. When you're raised in America, you're taught that men are always correct. Your worth is tied to your output. Being white and thin is right and correct. Also, we live in a culture of narcissism and a culture of alcoholism. Now, those are two psychology terms, but we're talking about the level of sociology. When it says culture of narcissism, you can read in Caste by Isabel Wilkerson, and I strongly recommend it as it's Black History Month. Please, dear God. So culture of narcissism means that we are raised incredibly individualistically, thinking of ourselves and, our own successes and kind of pushing other people down in an attempt to bring ourselves up, right? That's not to say that everyone raised in America can be diagnosed with narcissism. It's just that we're socialized in a narcissistic culture, okay? Similar to, we're raised in a culture of alcoholism, which does not mean that everyone in America who drinks is a diagnosed alcoholic. It means that alcoholism is incredibly normalized compared to other types of substances you could consume, right? And a bar is a safe use site. And it is so incredibly rare for safe use sites to exist in America, right? Like if you were to see someone drinking out on the street, sure, that'd be a no-no. But if you saw someone using meth, that would be like, you'd be like, what the actual fuck? We have been socialized to think that drinking is better for us than using meth. And I do not want to get into comparing vices, as this is a very slippery addiction conversation. But drinking can ruin your life and other people's lives, similar to using meth, right? Like, so a lot of people are like, oh, it's just drinking. No, dude, it's so totally fine to post a video of your friend blackout drunk on the toilet or on the floor of a bathroom in Chili's. Since we all know it's alcohol, oh, that's a funny ha-ha. If you were to post that same photo and suggest this is the result of meth, then we can see how it's not fair. Socialized in a culture of narcissism and alcoholism, again, that does not mean that everyone is diagnosed narcissist or alcoholic. It means that narcissism and alcoholism is so normalized that if we saw it and we experienced it, we would accept it as fine, okay? Now, when you start to decenter patriarchal lessons, white supremacy lessons, fat phobia, transphobia, homophobia, you start to decenter all those things, you're going to want to recenter yourself. And you're going to want to recenter yourself very intentionally. Now, intentionality has 3 parts. This is where I'm just going to speak confidently. Intentionality requires desires, beliefs, and character, right? So you need to have, with desires, you need to have goals. They need to be specific, achievable, and they need to have a specific timeline, right? Beliefs, you need to know what you believe, and then character, what you do or do not stand for. And so if you want to act intentionally to decenter anything, to decenter all these lessons taught to you by an oppressive culture, you need to know your character, right? Who am I? What do I stand for? What you stand for is much, much more important than what you don't stand for, right? Like, you stand for equal rights, you stand for other people's ability to express themselves. Because when you talk about what you don't stand for is great, and it's obviously valid, but if you want to talk about intentionality, you need to kind of tweak everything into positive terms. What you believe, you put it in positive terms. And that's not to say you should believe everything positive, but it helps you narrow down and be incredibly specific. Because the thing is a lot of people, when they're describing themselves and what they do or do not like, they mainly focus on what they don't like. However, that doesn't help people understand them more and thus not understand themselves. Like, if I were to call an Uber and the Uber got here and they said, where do you want to go? And I said, not WeHo. My Uber driver would be like, okay, we're not going to go to WeHo. There is so much more we could go to, right? So when you have a goal of where you want to go and someone asks, or you ask yourself, you should probably have the specific site in mind, at least narrowed down, because then you're going to be like, where do I want to go with my life? Well, not WeHo. Well, then, you got the rest of the U.S. So let's narrow this down. Try to put it in positive, specific terms so you know who you are, what you desire, what you believe in, and your character. And then you can act intentionally to decenter something. And then center yourself with intention. Or, you could do it haphazardly. And I don't mind that. Trial and error is so valid. The thing is this is an addiction and recovery conversation. You really do need to have some grace and self-compassion for yourself, because this is not again, with the centering capitalism, with your worth tied to your output. A lot of people don't want to try because they assume that if they fail, that means they're a failure. No, even when they try to ban TikTok, right? TikTok, they just didn't want people talking about current events, the news, the world, what's happening. And what were the estimates from financial companies that TikTok being banned would lose $8 billion a month? That is the weight of your words, right? The weight, the U.S. is willing to lose $8 billion a month if you just shut the fuck up, right? So that is how much just words and acting with intention and opposing oppressive systems, it will punch people in the pockets, So keep talking, keep decentering and then centering yourself. It's just, and again, like I said, it depends on what type of political structure or ideology you subscribe to. But you can decentralize power while everyone, have a division of labor. you can still assign roles. That doesn't mean that someone is necessarily in charge. It just means that, the knowledge illusion does talk about the division of cognitive labor, where if you are an expert in a certain thing, you rely on each other. And if you share intentionality, like I said, you'd be effective collaborators, and effective collaborators get shit done, right? And you contribute in the way that you're an expert in this thing, you don't have to do all the jobs. Just do what you do best and rely on others and be reliable with intentionality and decenter and center. I'm going to drink some water. How's that for speaking confidently, Rebecca?
And I'm proud to be
Okay. That would be so funny if the studio had a American flag.
You stand up and you salute it.
Every morning. It's at half-mast. Actually, fun fact, half-staff is on land, half-mast is on a ship. So it'd be at half-staff. Okay. And I know that because my parents were in the Navy. Fun facts all around. So if you guys talk to anyone in the military and they're like, what's the difference between half-staff and half-mast? There you go. So like I said, when you decenter or you center something, you have to think about it like entering a new culture. And so if you were to move to Germany right now, what would you research in order to acclimate to Germany quite well? Because decentering men, you're not literally leaving America. You're not literally leaving the patriarchy, as that would be damn near impossible, as there are some matriarchal cultures in the world. But if I were to suggest to you, hey guys, let's all move to the very small, remote matriarchal cultures, first off, that would be another type of colonization. And then second off, that's not practical, So we, decentering in any capacity, whether it be men, gender, booze, drugs, booze, what am I, from the 40s? But you're going to still exist within the culture. You're now entering a subculture. However, the rules of other cultures still apply to the subculture. You're going to learn a new language, right? You're going to adjust your customs, your attitudes, your beliefs, right? Again, what is considered historical texts or, important documents, quote unquote, for decentering men is intersectional feminist texts. Now, like I said, centering and decentering is a fairly new term. I do have 2 books here that are not about men that I'm going to suggest. The first one I did mention last time was Leadership Recreated by Grambrell, PhD, A Woman's Guide to Surviving and Thriving in Patriarchal Academia. Now, she does use the term centering and decentering, mainly in terms of how to, because academia, I guess, is very hierarchical. So she's addressing it in that way. And then the next one I'm reading for Black History Month is called Rest is Resistance, a Manifesto by Tricia Hersey. Now, Tricia Hersey runs the Sleep Ministry, and it's where, reclaiming rest, because Black people have been historically just overworked to the bone, and rest is resistance, like I was talking about with centering capitalism. If you think your worth is tied to your output, you will not let yourself rest, and you will be working at half capacity, and keeping you tired and keeping you groggy and your brain fuzzy and just generally upset with your life will keep you complacent, and it will keep you from fighting the systems of being. So and she uses the term quite frequently, centering and decentering. So great resources if you want to know the structure and how it works with academia and rest. Yeah. So that's really great. Instacart, nothing is available. Nothing is ever available. I swear to God. Sarah, are you centering capitalism? No, I'm not. Okay, here's the thing. If I was centering capitalism right now when it came to Instacart, I'd assume that the only way to get groceries is through Instacart. And then I actually probably have lost the plot at this point. But yeah, when you decenter to center yourself, and, you have to examine your beliefs and your customs and your attitudes, like I was talking about with beliefs. So a lot of people blindly believe a lot of stuff. Beliefs require proof. So if I'm not Christian, and if you are, that's great. I was raised Southern Baptist, but I want to give you an example of the rundown of how beliefs should work. if someone really overzealous, lover of Christ, good for you. But if you were to run up to me right now and you were to convince me to convert to Christianity because you felt so emotionally compelled, right, by the Spirit of Jesus and Christ our Redeemer, and trust me, I've read it front to back. If you were to just come up to me and try to convert me based off feelings alone, what I would need is a second part, which is proof. I need proof from what you're saying. And then you're like, I'm going to pull out the Bible. But the thing is the Bible is not a reputable source. I'm going to humor you for a second. Even if it was, it's been ran through thousands of different translations. So you to tell me this thing that's been interpreted 1,000 times, this is the word of God. This is Google Translate, to the 80th power. This is not the word of God anymore. I don't even know if it's English, So it's not a reputable source. So you do not have proof of the existence of Christ. Now, we could branch into having faith, which is different from beliefs, but I'm going to stick to beliefs. So it is, if you only have your emotions when it comes to a belief and no proof, the belief is unfounded, right? And so an example is of how you need to examine your beliefs in a patriarchal culture. You'll see this all the time when you go on TikTok or you go on any Facebook or something like that. A woman posts a video of a man burning the second floor of their house down as a prank, and she films it and she's like, oh my God, look at what Jeb did. He's such a goof. And we're all in the comments like, this man hates your guts. This man wish you were inside at the time. And then she's now in the comments backpedaling, right? She's like, no. He loves me and he truly this is just a one-off thing. He's really such a great guy who shows up. Your emotions, they are valid, right? Much like rational, irrational numbers, they are real numbers, thus they are valid and must be accounted for. However, I'd like some facts. Show me some proof that this man actually loves you, because you managed to actually show some proof that he hates you, and I believe that, right? Because I believe women. But so now the second part to this is I now believe that he hates you. To convert me from that belief to me believing that he loves you, I trust your emotions. That's the first part. Those are valid. However, it needs to be paired with some proof. And if you cannot prove to me that this man does act in your best interest, then that belief is unfounded. So when it comes to decentering men and lessons from a patriarchal culture, you need to examine all your beliefs that you have, not just about men, but about women, because how you treat men and women could be the result of socialization of a patriarchal culture. A lot of people don't believe that women are funny. And the thing is a lot of people don't believe women are funny is because they don't believe women are smart, right? So if you don't laugh at any women's jokes, or you find yourself, explaining a woman's joke to her, it's because you don't believe that she's funny. But deeper than that, you don't believe she's smart enough to have put two and two together, right? Every woman listening to this ever is like, I have come up with the most perfectly crafted punchline, and a man says, oh, you don't realize what you did just then. Because he does not believe you, right? You could have, I went to Harvard, MIT, tattooed on your chest. Well, actually, that tattoo would suggest that you probably did not, but I'm not. Okay, you could have your degree. I went to Harvard, MIT. I'm an astrophysicist. I'm all this stuff. As you are telling a joke. However, since this man is socialized in a patriarchal culture, all he registers is woman, not smarter than man. Man, I would have thought of that. If I didn't think of that, there's no way in hell that she thought of that, right? So, examine your beliefs, right? All of them. If they do not have evidence to back up the emotions, sure, the emotions that you're feeling are valid. However, you need facts with those feelings, right? It's like physics. You need light and heat at the same time. If you only have heat and there is no light, something's being withheld or your eyes are closed, right? Or if you only see the light and you don't feel any heat, there is something else amiss. It could be a fluorescent bulb or, a phone screen. It's why a lot of people believe that, social media addiction, it's a very shallow form of light that gives off little... Okay, the analogy will go on a bit longer. But yeah, examine your beliefs, your customs, your attitudes towards people. Let me drink water. I'm talking for a long time. This is also, I realized, in the knowledge illusion, believe it or not, presenting a lot of information at once is probably the worst way to go about to convert people. And you're like, how? Let me drink my water. Now, I am autistic, so this is an info dump. So I don't care if you like me or not. But no, so in the knowledge illusion, the Dunning-Kruger effect has a sister. Her name is the illusion of explanatory depth. And so, you know how the curse of knowledge is where you know too much? Well, the illusion of explanatory depth is where you think you know more than you do, right? Back to the toilet scenario. You know how it works, but do you really, right? And so why presenting a lot of information is actually not helpful, even though it's objective, is because beliefs are largely unfounded, but grounded in emotion, right? So if it's objective, right? But like say beliefs can be very, very deep, right? Especially when they come from like systems of oppression. This is not an excuse, this is a reason. And I will talk about the difference between those two things in a second. Now, in a patriarchy, white supremacy, in a, homophobic, transphobic culture, right? Your beliefs are supported by the community, right? And community, like when it comes to fear is your oldest emotion, right? It is like to be afraid, that's the most natural thing ever, right? And to survive is to exist in a group, right? When it comes to evolution, fear is ostracism is a fear worse than death. Because if you were ostracized, that was a death sentence. And if you were to just die in your group, that wouldn't be that bad, right? Dying surrounded by your friends and family, that's not nearly as bad as dying alone. So community really does matter, and community bolsters and supports beliefs. And also beliefs do not exist in a vacuum. Beliefs are supported by like a whole web of surrounding beliefs. So when you shatter a belief, it really, really hurts, even if you shattered it with objective truth. And the more truth you add, the more it hurts. For example, if you believe that your partner genuinely, truly loves you, like we are going to get married, we are going to have kids, we are going to raise a family together, you believe with your entire soul that your partner loves you. And I, a friend of yours, walks up and I'm like, hey, dude, I haven't seen you forever. I saw your partner actually making out with someone else. And I present you a photo, right? This is objective proof. And I give a shit about you. I'm not trying to hurt you. You see that and you're shattered, right? Because your beliefs are shattered. You thought this person loved you. You thought you're going to get married, right? You thought all these connected beliefs. So I'm not just crushing one. I'm crushing several with objective information. Now, if I were to keep adding information, it'd actually start to hurt more. Oh my God, dude, that's just a photo, but here's a full-on video of them fucking in the back of your car. That is more objective information, but I have already shattered a full web of beliefs, and then now I'm just crushing it down even further, right? So the same thing does kind of happen with ignorant people, right? And this is not an excuse, right? It's just to align how they feel. Because yes, their feelings are irrational because they are unfounded beliefs, right? I'm supreme to someone. However, the emotions that they experience when their beliefs are shattered is similar to that of if I told you the love of your life was cheating on you, right? And that's not an excuse. It's trying to align emotional understanding. You absolutely do not have to be empathetic towards them. I am just explaining how adding more objective information, even when you mean the best, could really hurt, Now, the difference between a reason and an excuse, there's actually a third option, which is justified. And, okay, a reason is just the facts of the case. And then when it moves up to the level of excuse or justified is on issue of authority. And there's two types of authority in this situation. Socialized authority, like patriarchy, white supremacy, the 1%. It's where like we're all taught that they're the people in authority, but they really have no power. And then the second type of authority is like actual legit authority, like people who are experts in the field. Like if, you're speaking on robotics, and this person is like a robotics expert, like you actually probably should answer to them in this case. So yeah, it goes reason and then up to the level of excuse or justified. Now, if an excuse is saying something is not good enough of a reason, justified is saying this is good enough, this reason, right? And the only people who can declare something an excuse or justified are people with sensible expertise, authority on the situation, And so a lot of people are, when you talk about the reason for your beliefs, you often refer to socialized authority. Like they gave me this reason for this belief. However, they are not a sensible authority on this, right? Because they're telling me that I, a woman, am less than a man. That is, and any scientist will tell you biologically that doesn't make a lick of sense. So that's the type of authority you should disregard. And when you start to disregard that, you start to decenter and you start to unpack your beliefs, your customs, your attitudes. It's custom to like, what's something that we do for dudes? I haven't done anything for a man in a very long time. It's a custom to let a dude speak over you in a meeting. Why? Just keep powering through. I'm sorry, I'm not finished. And if HR has anything to say about it, the Trump administration, goddamn. Well, okay, well, you know what? Power through, and God bless. But yeah, so it is going to be a sort of a culture shock when you start to decenter men or anything, really, and you start to center yourself. Like, it's customary to work past, 9 to 5. You work into the night. If you start to decenter grind culture, right, hustling, and you stop exactly at 5, and then you're like, this is my time, I'm going to rest, and people start to reach out to you, and they're like, hey, can I get this, paper, or this email, this follow-up? It's just this tiny little thing. If you set a boundary, they're going to be shocked. They're like, okay, and especially if you're a woman. What? It's just one piece of work. I don't care. It's still work. I'm going to say nay, wait till tomorrow. So it is going to be a little bit of an isolating experience. I keep talking for a long time because I said I would speak with confidence this time. And I have been, but I also have not been letting myself drink water. Speaking for 40 minutes straight is actually quite impressive.
Yay, clap, 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 cheer, 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 cheer.
Clap. I actually did not specify that we were getting into the nitty gritty. So I hope you all got, your scrubs, your back scrubber, you did your deep clean for your hair. Do you double shampoo your hair?
No, I don't.
Well, that's...
You're like, I can tell.
No.
I can tell.
I'm just saying this is where we get into the nitty gritty. This is
Grab
where
the loofah.
Yeah. And so if I know a lot of us are lesbians, and I'm not sure where we're all at when it comes to shaving, but I guess if we were to be, that would be this point right now, shaving down. But the thing is, his hair is completely natural. That's another way to decenter your patriarchal culture. But and the thing is if you want to shave or you don't want to shave, as long as it's your decision, genuinely, truly, do whatever the hell you want with your body. I am not there. And I will not see it. So yeah, you're not exiting a patriarchal culture. You're just... you're still going to exist within the patriarchy. Here are some examples of, editing our language, because language is one part of culture. The frequency at which men interrupt, they assume, women dominate conversations, even though just one woman raised her hand and said, okay, so where can we all park when we get there? And then men are like, oh my God, does she ever stop yapping the old ball and chain? Who let women in the building? Yes. So, more feminine modes of communication have been demonized, like gossip, thing is gossip. It's just, a woman is hysterical, right? The hysterectomy, like it's all, I read Unwell Women, and while I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, it's not a bad book. It's just actually kind of, okay, yeah, like hysterical, right, is to describe like a woman emotional state. Gossip is supposed to be bad. However, gossip historically, like communication is connection. You know, sharing information is actually incredibly important. People trivialize it because it's associated with women, you know. Like I said, women are seen as hysterical when communicating, even if they're showing little to no emotion, right? Like a man could be screaming at you and he's literally drooling and snot is running down his face. And you're like, hey, I don't like this. And he's like, whoa, chill out. You're emotional. Newsflash, dude. Anger is an emotion. If you feel any bit annoyed right now, if you feel irritated, right? Annoyed and irritated, very low levels of anger. However, still anger. You're emotional. Okay, and that's not bad. The thing is anger is action. So as long as it's directed to bettering yourself, I don't mind if you're angry. Angry is just energy that you're trying to, but if you project it onto me, that's actually a waste. I'm disappointed with you. You're angry at me for telling you the truth. How about you just get angry at society and then you pursue your hobbies, or you do something, beneficial for yourself, because then you can repurpose that anger instead of giving it away for free. I mean, do you go to the gas station and pump people's gas for free too? You're telling me that you had an energy source and you just let it out on other people? God, that literally is like going to the gas station and paying for someone else's gas. Because, whatever. Use your energy to fuel yourself to go towards your own goals. Anger is not necessarily a bad thing. It just depends on who you point it at. Okay. There's also BuzzFeed feminism when it comes to language. It is very surface level, but they were getting at something. Also, fun fact, I did work at BuzzFeed for a very short amount of time. I was a copywriter for some of their animation teams, and it was really fun. I didn't get to do any of the fun, like the BuzzFeed like video things, but I was up in the attic with the animators, because the animators like to draw in complete darkness, and I was the only person with a light on because I couldn't see anything. But yeah, I did. I worked there. I never made a listicle though. I do want to warn against thought-terminating cliches, right? A lot of thought-terminating cliches are things that are technically correct, but are not, if you push it a little bit further, it does lose its structure, right? Like, decentering men, this doesn't matter in real life. Well, the thing is, yes, it does. Because all these people on the internet are real in real life. All these, a lot of people it's kind of interesting. They're like, oh, the internet's, it's just like all drama and it's all like stupid BS. I mean, have you watched any legit certified therapist on TikTok? And then look at their likes, look at their saves, look at their comments. If there's like 24,000 likes on like how to escape an abusive situation, like what if just 4,000 of those people were actually, it really needed this information to escape, and they did, right? So the internet is real life. It's the sharing of information. Sharing of information has been demonized because it's considered feminine. Mental health is considered feminine, right? Speaking of which, I did want to write a letter to Tricia Hersey about rest is resistance, because I take issue with a certain emotion on the emotion wheel, which is bad. Yes, feeling bad is a very valid feeling. However, when it comes to the second and third row of the emotion wheel, bad has to do with your ability to do work. So bad means fatigued, which is interesting because fatigue is a type of pain. You wouldn't put itchy or burning on the emotion wheel. And I wanted to write to her because that is, another example of our, grind culture. Like it's to say that you are fatigued and that is an emotional issue. And that I think I have a hypothesis again. So a hypothesis is something that this is what I'm putting out there into the world, but you can fact check me. Labeling fatigue an emotional issue is probably what has caused a lot of people with chronic illnesses to be disregarded and disbelieved, limited access to help and, resources. Because if you're like, oh, I'm just tired all the time, and, look at the communities that have historically been overworked, women and people of color, and then just, chronic illnesses due to fatigue, it's just and never-ending cycle. So I needed I wanted to write a letter to her to be like, we need to take bad off the emotion wheel. Yes, it is a type of pain. However, it should be grouped with pain. Okay, and I have more to it. But yeah, customs, attitudes, and beliefs. You can also read, like I've mentioned, Leadership Recreated by Grambrell. She talks about, a culture of individualism, toxic competition, power over others, hierarchy, and demand for control. Now, she was talking about, in academia, how there's like a culture of individualism, toxic competition. So competition. I actually also do have a book on bargaining styles. Now, that seems weird, and you're like, we're trying to escape capitalism here, but how is this? Okay. To act intentionally, that involves, your beliefs, your desires, and your character. Now, to be a good collaborator with someone, you need to share intentionality, right? So if you're trying to find a friend or a business partner or romantic partner, right? And you're like, what is going to work? You should be effective collaborators. That is not where you guys are carbon copies of each other, but your beliefs, desires, and character should add up. Like they should align a little bit. Desires can be a bit flexible as like, you could be more alternative and the other person could be not alternative. Actually, it really depends what type of, okay, but yeah. So like if you share intentionality with someone, you're going to be effective collaborators. Now, collaborating is a bargaining style, and there are other types of bargaining styles. There's competing, collaborating, compromising, avoiding, and accommodating. Now, a lot of people are like, what am I going off on? Anyway, you want to be an effective collaborator, right? And American individualism will make you highly competitive, which relies on hierarchy. If you've ever had a friend and it feels like you're competing with them, ladies, right? That means there's hierarchy within the group. If you've ever had a friend where you feel like you have to just give and sacrifice what you want, you're accommodating or compromising. And now accommodating is not necessarily a bad thing. You just have to make sure that desires, beliefs, and character is aligned. If you're accommodating and none of those things are aligned, you're being taken advantage of. And then there's avoiding, you're friends with someone and you guys avoid talking about hard topics. What? Trump did win the presidency. I don't want to think about that. That just feels bad to think about. Well, you're not going to be effective collaborators, and they're probably not going to decenter diddly squat with you. And then there's, So you want to be effective collaborators, and you have to be intentional about that. And Grambrell, in decentering the academic things, patriarchal culture of individualism, you're not above or beneath. You are in the midst. Toxic competition, that requires hierarchy. To compete with someone, there has to kind of be a pyramid involved. You both can't get the gold. And then power over others is, again, hierarchy, and demand for control. Yes, decentering, be more process-oriented. While it is good to have goals, like I said, to be intentional, you need some sort of goals, you need to be fully invested in the process. And like I was talking with decentering, this is an addiction and recovery conversation. And I hate this. I hate saying this, not because it's not true, but because it's just a drag. One day at a time. I'm also reading this book on gambling. It's called Squares and Sharps, Suckers and Sharks. And it's about how the best gamblers dissociate from the results, right? You're not focused on winning and losing. Sure, winning would be great. But you dissociate from the results and you are fully invested in the process of, poker or blackjack or games of psychology. Slots, it really doesn't matter if you're focused. You could be blackout drunk. That's all highly random, right? But demand for control. The future is largely uncertain. You can have goals, right? And you can have things you want to achieve for yourself. Set those goals, but then dissociate from the results and be fully invested in the process to achieve those goals. Decentering, recentering yourself is just day to day, questioning a belief. Why did I think that woman wasn't funny? Did I think that she wasn't smart? Self-reflection. And this is like a day-to-day thing. Or, letting a woman speak in a meeting because why am I interrupting her? Why do I feel compelled to do that? Why am I commenting on another woman's clothing? Why am I determining my worth off of if someone else was uglier or prettier than me? Can you just not, does a gallery have one painting? we all are human beings, works of art, we're creating in our own time. Just focus on yourself, because I know if you're focused on other people, you're not painting. I mean, okay, yes. So yeah, gender roles. I did touch on this briefly, but I think I've given a pretty thorough breakdown. The first people to kind of shirk their gender roles were dudes during Civil War. So during the Civil War, you got drafted, but you could also pay someone to take over for you in war. And that's kind of interesting, as the military is a collectivist notion, right? Which is you are part of a greater whole and you're furthering a cause together, relying on other people, right? Similar to a familial unit, right? You are all mom and dad and kids. Well, not really kids. You shouldn't really depend on kids for labor. You're working together to maintain the family. However, a lot of people are like, oh, mom, that's her gender role, right? Like cook and clean and keep us all together and maintain the energy in the room. However, she can't rely on anyone, right? If she can't rely on her husband, then no, she is just a serf. And a serf is a different type of slave where it's tied to the owner or the land. So it's tied to the husband. If the husband doesn't do diddly shit and she is supposed to work all day, and, oh, it's just good enough that I gave you a home, that is serfdom, and it's a different type of slavery. Now, if you would not allow that in the military, then don't talk to me about fucking what would you allow in the family, okay? So, getting drafted is kind of like joining a family, right? And if you dodge the draft, it's like refusing to join a family to further a collective goal. So it's just... yeah, men dodge gender roles. And the thing is I don't want all of you to join the military. I really don't. But the thing is you gotta give people some grace if they don't want to be a mom. If you don't want to get deployed, 5 times for 9 months, for over a period of 30 years, then it makes it, and the thing is you'd have to do it unpaid, as what, most mothers go through. If you would say no to that proposition, then you let women say no to being an unpaid slave for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? And also, yes, you can read more about this in Justice by Michael J. Sandel, and he talks about morality and moral panics. Have fun with that. So yeah, in Decentering Men and Decentering Gender and Decentering Capitalism, you do also have to rifle through your morals, what you do and do not stand for, as that contributes to character and intentionality. Now, a lot of people are like, well, how do I go about defining who I am? All right. Like I said in the beginning, I would not define who you are by what you're not, okay? If you can tell me all the reasons why you can do something, you're most likely going to tell me all the reasons why you can't do something. And that's a theory. If you tell me how you're going to do something or how something works, that's a law, right? So you are the only person who can write your own laws, as you're the only person living within, residing in your body. You know the extent of your... And the TV's shut off? So how do you find out who you are? This is... Let me. I know, okay. Personality tests are flawed. Yes, they are. However, they could be used to describe you, not prescribe you, describe you, right? If you took a couple personality tests, or just even your astrology sign, this is not saying that you should take all of that as law, right? But write down all the words that keep sticking out to you, right? This, when you take these tests, you sound reliable. You sound, charming. You sound, persuasive. Write all the big, bold words down. Take everything with a grain of salt, as, they can be flawed. This is just a way to find out, ballpark of who you are. And then, research what these words mean. A lot of people, like I said with the illusion of explanatory depth, think they know what everything means. If I were to ask you what reliable means in a personality capacity, you could be like, oh, she's dependable. One word. You need to know what these words mean inside and out if you agree with them, right? Research them further, and then you're building out your character, you're building out your morals. If I'm reliable, that means you can depend on me, and that means I'm true to my word, right? I'm honest, or I'm forthcoming, right? So you're expanding who you are, and you're expanding the character aspect of intentionality. Desires, like, what do I want out of life? And, think of it as like, try to put it into positive terms. It is great if you only know what you do or do not want. If you know what you don't want, that's great, as long as you can narrow it down to what you do want. You're expanding your desires. And then beliefs. When you start rifling through your beliefs, you're like, all right, so which beliefs are all emotion and which beliefs can I prove or not prove, right? Like a sensible authority figure can prove to me in definite terms, like that these things are true and correct, right? You're not going to be able to prove women are less than men. You're not going to prove that women are biologically incapable of diddly shit. Once you start to fill out all three of those arenas, you're going to start moving intentionally to decentering men and centering yourself, right? And then you're going to be simultaneously investing in yourself and your community. Because if you believe, you are worthy of love and a piece of art, and you're expressing yourself to your truest, fullest capacity, you're not paying attention to what others are doing, you're going to enter a room with a whole bunch of other women, and those women are going to feel that energy, man. You simultaneously invested in yours and the other person's safety, comfort, and, personal expression. Now they feel comfortable around you, dude. Like they can express themselves. And that's alluring. Add that word to your list. Yeah, that's how you go about starting to decenter men. And again, men, you can decenter men. You can decenter men. It will take a long, hard look in the mirror. A long, hard look in the mirror. But yeah. The Knowledge Illusion is a great book, Stephen Sloman. Rest is Resistance for Decentering Capitalism and, recentering your own rest. It is Black History Month. I would strongly recommend it. It's by Tricia Hersey, Hersey. It's fairly short. I think it's less than 200 pages. And it has the term centering and decentering explicitly. And you can kind of apply the same logical structure to other decentering and centering conversations. Okay, if you want to get into the physics aspect of decentering, the world is not a hierarchy, it's a holarchy, and this is the weird intersection of, well, it's not weird, it's just, you guys are here? Both of you two are here, of spirituality and physics. You got holistic, healing, full, all-encompassing, but while centering yourself, and then holarchy is like, quantum physics all the way up to like planets and universes and stars and all this stuff. Like it's just, where's the separation of self and other? There's really no, we're all singular, but also simultaneously a part of something larger. And where chaos meets organization is the essence of life. So if you're highly chaotic and you'd like to start to get organized, then this is the beginning of your life. Congratulations. But yeah, that is all I have to say. Now we are going to wind down. Compassion, grace for yourself. If you don't do it perfect the first time, great. Because perfectionism is actually a huge pillar of white supremacy and also capitalism. And they are butt buddies. Oh, they scissor, way into the night. So if you don't do it perfect the first time, that's great, actually. And if you keep going, that's even better. Because this is an addiction and recovery conversation. If you fail, welcome to the club. We've all tried to get sober. Oh, believe you me, I've quit smoking more times than I can count. I've quit drinking more times than I can count. So if you start like decentering men and you're like, oh my God, I accidentally spoke over a woman today. As long as you recognize the error of your ways and you do better in the future, you keep trying. The only way you can fail is if you give up. But yeah. And I hope you guys are applying your lotion right now. I hope you made it to work. I hope your notepad is filled with notes. The world is spiraling. But if you can, the great thing about investing in yourself and showing up for yourself is you can make yourself a constant. You can rely on yourself and you know exactly who you are. So when the world is just changing around you, you don't feel like you're lost. You are, the North Star. So yeah, sure, all the planets are rushing by at, light speed, but you're just kind of in the same, you're doing great. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been Schauer Thoughts for left and right brainers. If you're a middle brainer, I would toss a ball at you to see how coordinated you are. But I can't do that through the screen. Thank you for listening, and hopefully I spoke more confidently this time. All resources will be linked below, and this has been great. Thank you, guys. I will talk to you next week. Bye.
Outro music. Bam, 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 boom, 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 bam, 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 bam.